I posted a clip of the 4x100 meter semifinals for this year, and it got a lot of attention. Several 100,000, I think 150,000 views on one platform on like Facebook, and then quite a bit on TikTok. But the point that I was making was when the second leg was coming to the third leg, so getting to the back, the curve on the back stretch, she went out a little bit too fast, meaning the person that was receiving the stick took off a little bit too fast. That's the way it looked. She took off a little bit too fast. And so the second leg had a problem getting it to her. So the third leg had to stutter step. And someone on there asked me what stutter step meant. You know what a stutter step is. When you get to some place, a point, and you stammer, if you see a hole or something, or you see something that you want to step around or something, you stammer your feet. And that's what she did. So she wouldn't cross the line, because once she crossed the line, it was going to be over. So that baton exchanged, it was only exchanged within that lane, that exchange zone, because the third leg had enough patience and thought to stutter step. Once she got close to that line, she stammered, and that means she totally slowed down. She got the stick, and then she continued to go. If it wasn't for that particular move, that meant that they wouldn't have made it to the finals. They won the gold medal this year. They would not have made it to the finals if she would have stepped over that line. She almost straddled the line. One more step and she would have been over it. But from what I was told, not the way that you were taught, but the way that I was told this year, the baton just can't move past the line. And you can't exchange it too early either. You can't exchange it before that exchange line, or while you're in the acceleration line or in the acceleration zone. It has to be after the exchange zone line, and it has to be before the end of the exchange zone line. So it has to be after the beginning of the exchange zone line and before the end of the exchange zone line. So just so the actual baton is physically in there. Doesn't matter where your feet are at, but the way that you teach is probably not that in that order or in that manner, especially if you're teaching young students to do that, because if somebody goes a little bit too fast or you wait too long to say go, that means that extra step can put you over. That extra step can put the baton further than it needs to be. So you would teach, I would teach a young runner to get the baton to the other person with your feet inside the zone. That means if your feet are inside the zone and your body's inside the zone, then the baton is definitely inside the zone. But if your body goes over that line, that means it's questionable whether or not that baton is within that zone. Because basically, if your body is over, your arm is almost over as well once you reach back. And once you see it, you have to see it to really understand it. But think about it. Not every race that you're going to be placed in, especially high schoolers and middle schoolers, they're not all going to have that photo finish type of thing. Even some of these higher echelon places like Diamond Leagues and stuff, Diamond Leagues is going to have the photo finish. I would believe that each one of those does. But in some of these other invitationals and stuff, when you're going to, I'm not sure, Texas relays, Penn relays, I'm not sure. They might have it now, but they might not have photo finishes. So why would you leave it up to the eye in order to determine whether or not you are eligible, if your run was eligible? Because you don't have anything to look at. So I would keep it within that 20 meters. Keep the exchange within the 20 meters. Keep your bodies inside the exchange zone. Don't rely on someone else to decide whether or not the stick was over the line. Because once your body, if they see your feet are over the line, they're probably going to make a guess whether or not you had the stick before you passed that line. before the stick passed the line? Was it in the exchange zone? Was the stick in that exchange zone? But once, and everything's going so fast, and keep in mind, they don't have a person to watch every single runner. They don't have one person watching every single runner. That person that's judging has to make a guess across the board, except for when you have photo finishes and when you're replaying it. So this year in the World Championships, the United States really owed it to that third leg because she had the presence of mind to stutter step or stammer step before she crossed the line. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to put Sha'Carri Richardson in, and I believe it was one other person that ran in the finals that didn't run in the semifinals. They wouldn't have been able to make that exchange. They wouldn't have been able to run because they would have been disqualified. But I think Glamorous 50, for sending that clip for the Chinese team. It's pretty funny, but it just made me think what could be going through their minds that they had to make sure that this thing was correct. Was it just almost like an OCD thing, or was it something within the country? But that's a totally different thought process that we'll probably never know. But very interesting to watch. You should see that.